My name is Lindsey, and I had the gastric sleeve in January 25th of 2020, and since that date I have lost 105 pounds. I decided to get the gastric sleeve mainly because of my experience as a nurse. I worked with bariatric patients and I helped them post-surgical, what it looked like to recover, what the results were, what post-surgical time looked like, and I decided to get that mainly because of my experience, but also when I met with Dr. Shea, that was his recommendation based on my weight loss goals, what I wanted to achieve, and I went with his recommendation, and I was really glad that I went with that. And also looking at nutritional needs and everything, that was pretty important to me. So I knew Dr. Shea was the right surgeon really from the first time that I interacted with him. I did have him, he was one of the doctors I worked with at the hospital when I was working there, and his patients were always so happy and so pleased by his results. And when I had my consultation with him, it was actually during COVID, so it was a virtual consultation. I didn't actually get to meet with him in person, but his smile and his whole personality really drew me to him because I felt comfortable, I didn't feel judged, I felt, everything was explained well, that I just was really appreciative of his kindness to somebody going through a major surgery that I was about to embark on. So bariatric surgery has pretty much changed all aspects of my life. I would say the most important thing for me is mental health, because I know a lot of times for me, with being heavy, with being overweight, that really affected my mental health. It really caused a lot of depression and self-image struggles, struggles with self-esteem, and I started to have health problems. I started to have high cholesterol, blood pressure issues, that there was just a combination. And I finally decided to do the surgery, and since then with the weight loss, I feel like a completely different person. Not just physically, that exercise is easier, running around with my kids is easier, but just I feel more accepting of my body, even though it's not, per se perfect. It's what I like, and I'm happy with the results, and I have a lot more confidence in my abilities, more confidence in how I look, decisions I make, and I am just a lot happier with who I am as a person. The advice that I would give somebody considering bariatric surgery is really to see if you understand really that it's a lifestyle change. It's not just having a surgery, all of a sudden you can eat whatever you want, you can lose weight, but really you have to change everything. You have to change your eating habits, your exercise habits. Going out with people to dinner is hard at first because you can't really eat, or explaining to people how you're losing weight, and you really have to consider that this is a full lifestyle change. And not only that, but bariatric surgery is just a tool in the weight loss experience. You can't just eat whatever you want. Protein's important, water's important, supplements are important, that it really is a commitment. It's not just an easy fix to having weight problems. So I think really looking at the big picture, that it does take a commitment, it does take hard work, but in the end, if for me, I was sick and tired of how I looked, how I was feeling, that I was really willing to commit to changing everything in my life, nutritionally, physically, and mentally about myself.